Patty Wagner. I'm one of our school counselors here. I've been here 28 years, a long time. And I'm so thrilled to see so many people in our community here to really begin a conversation about the devastating effect that the increase in drug use in our community is having on our students and our families. We have all three of our administrators are here tonight. We have members of our Board of Education, our support staff, our counselors, psychologists are all here. This is important. We want to be here with you. If you don't know our administrators, I'd like to take a moment. Behind you on the left, Mrs. Julie Ludwig-Landy is our high school principal. Behind you on your right, waving, is Mrs. Amy St. Croix, our elementary principal. And next to her, Mr. Kyle Faulkner, our superintendent of schools. I'm also going to take the time to introduce you to our two school psychologists, Mrs. Pam Monica, Mrs. Stacy Linkrum, and our high school counselor, Mr. Kevin Durr. We are lucky at Alexandria Central to also have a student assistance counselor. Her name is Kendra Everly, and she's just returning from maternity leave, so she's not here with us this evening. We had the last 6 months, our administrators and our counseling and our support staff have had the opportunity to have 2 different drug experts come in and speak to us in a small group. When we heard what's happening to river communities, it really scared us. We've always known there's always some drug use around. We didn't even realize how close it was to home, how big this problem was becoming. Last spring, we were able to have Investigator Boyce come and speak to some of our students. They really enjoyed his presentation, and when you can get kids to enjoy a presentation, we know we're onto something. So he was gracious enough to come back with us this year. In the fall, we also had a gentleman come from the Alcohol and Substance Abuse Council, which is now called Pivot. And he spoke to our students in grades 5 through 8 on inhalant use and also on energy drinks. And I would say to you, if you have not looked into energy drinks and what they are made of and what's happening when they're consumed in your body, I would highly encourage you. I was clueless. And when I sat there listening to his presentations, I was amazed, and not in a good way. So I would encourage you, that's a simple thing they can buy right at our local drugstores and our local grocery stores. So something to look into. Tonight's night 1. I don't know if there'll be a night 2. That's going to be up to you. As a community, we're the educational hub in our community, and our job tonight is to bring in an educator to give us information. I hope that you'll be interested enough that we'll come back together again and again, whether it's in this location or another location, that we can start looking at prevention programs and interventions. But for tonight, it truly is just about education, just to bring you on board so that you have the same information that we do as a school about what's happening. I would like to introduce Senior Investigator Elliot Boyce. He's from the Community Narcotics Enforcement Team, CNETS, Central Region. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'd say before I get started, we just need to give her a real loud round of applause. Let's go. I have a very busy schedule, and what happened is I recently was transferred. I went from the Community Narcotics Enforcement Team to the DEA Task Force. And what happens is when you get moving around, you miss emails, you miss phone calls, you miss a lot of things that are very important because of transition to officers. Patty Wagner would not let this die. I'll tell you something. She called, she emailed, she texted, and I knew this thing was going to happen. It was very important to her. So it's a credit to the school district, it's a credit to her, and it's a credit to you for this turnout. Because a lot of times you have community forums and people don't show up. You know, it's just like the PTA meeting. You talk about student education, you get 2 or 3 people that come in. And out of those 3 people, 2 of them's kids are gone already. They're not even in the school district anymore. So this is a credit. It's also very important that I see a lot of, I'll call it, mature individuals in this class. When I'm saying individuals that are 60 and over, because this affects you greatly. Because where these prescription drugs are coming from, or your cash, it's where the kids or teenagers are getting it from. They can't buy it, they go and visit the neighbor next door, they go and visit the grandparents. What happens is they start getting addicted to drugs. And the drugs, prescription drugs is where it starts, and it goes into heroin. But I'm not going to isolate this to heroin this evening because it's very important to talk about a couple of drugs. Marijuana has always been a gateway drug. It hasn't changed. You know, it goes dated way back. Then from marijuana, it goes to the next drug, and the biggest drug now is the violation or the abuse of prescription drugs. And that's what we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to touch on meth. Methamphetamine is very important that I added to this piece because everything you need to manufacture methamphetamine you can buy from Walmart. And that's not a slam on Walmart, so I'll take their name out of it, you can buy it from the local store. And kids have gotten to the point where, or young adults have gotten to the point where there's meth labs are not these big, elaborate tubes and chemicals and all this stuff coming out. It's down to a 2-liter bottle. And some of them have gotten sophisticated enough where it's down to a 20-ounce bottle. And you can manufacture anywhere from 3 to 6 grams of meth. So we'll touch on that also, very important. The first things first, how kids learn. It's a very simple formula. The formula's been around forever. They learn just like this.
Looks like rain again today. Dark clouds gather to fill the sky. Don't know how to talk to you, just know how to say goodbye.
We do as adults, children do the same thing. If a grown man will walk by a lady falling down the stairs with a cart with his son, chances are the son will grow up and do the same thing. Now, that's not indicative of everybody. In some cases, it holds true. I'm going to show you one more video, then we'll start talking. And just so you understand, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have 28 years with the New York State Police. I've worked narcotics for close to 18 years. I have 4 college degrees, 2 master's degrees, a master's in criminal justice, a master's in public administration. I've been an associate professor at SUNY Oswego. I've been in tenure for about 6 years. My passion here isn't about law enforcement, it's about the fact that I'm a parent. I have a son. He's a single parent for most of his life. I coached basketball. I sat on the board of the cheerleading foundation and also the football foundation. I wanted to be involved. Reality is this drug thing is not about one community. We look at it on TV and go, oh, that's a problem with city circuits. Wrong. It is here. Orange County, California, just a couple of examples I'm going to show you. How quick it can happen, how quick it can happen to your kids. So, for me, the passion isn't about being a police officer. It's about the fact that I'm a parent. Because I realize, just like many of you here should realize, is if you take care of each child on each side of your house, in front and back, in the neighborhood, if you're the watchguard for them, if you're the eyes and ears, chances are if their parents miss it, you won't. But if everyone says, ain't my problem, oh, I'm not going to say anything, and that's when it creeps into your community. If it creeps into your community through the back door because you didn't watch the kid or you didn't want to be concerned with the kid around the block across the street the next door, that may be the person that comes in the back door and steals your TV. Because it's an addiction. Heroin is an addiction, the most addictive drug there is. There is no other drug more addictive than heroin. This one kid said to me, I was talking to him, I said, hey, he says, so why are you doing drugs? He said, Boyce, I've done marijuana, hash. He said, man, I sniffed the bottom of the aerosol can. He said, I could kick all of them. He said, but the heroin? And he just looked at me with big eyes and said, that's the devil. You can't shake it. What happens is you get one hit, and you could be addicted for life. But then it becomes a daily thing. You never get rid of it. It's just like multiplying. As you get older, the number of bags you need increases. So day one is one bag, day two is two bags, then you eventually get to a habit that's just uncontrollable. And some adults say, oh, he only took $10 out of my wallet this week. No one will talk about that when the kids do something slight and they figure, oh, it was just a mistake. $10 or $20 or $30 goes to other things in your house. That's what we're here to talk about. It is an increasing problem that sometimes you say it's not that important. You must pay attention to escalate. Like these kids. These kids here, 23 years old. Here's some examples of how it can happen to your grandkid or your child. Watch how he starts this out.
My grandfather was dying of cancer, and he had just tubs of every pill you could imagine, I didn't know what they were, and I started taking them and feeling the effects and reading the bottles and finding out what they were and then selling them at school, and yeah, just went down from there.
I was on sworn pounds by the time I was 17. I had gastric bypass, and then that's when everything started falling apart. They took my food addiction from me. I couldn't eat anymore, and so I had to find something else to fill that void. And they gave me a few bottles that had your coat on. I could chug it. I wasn't in pain. I took it to get high.
My high school football team just caught a pass and it broke my middle finger. I got Vicodin and I prescribed Percocet. I was taking them like I was supposed to until someone asked if I was messed up on them. I didn't know what they meant.
The minute she walked in the house, she just sat on the couch and she started crying. My first thought is, oh my God, she's pregnant. And she told me she was doing Oxycontin, and so my first thought was, what's that? She told me she smoked it, which then totally blew me away because I just couldn't envision her doing that. Just didn't fit.
Skittle parties. How many people know what a Skittle party is? Raise your hand. Everyone should know what a Skittle party is. Skittle party is, and if you really want to see, it's the one thing. Here's the homework that they'll give you. How many people use YouTube? Everybody here should use YouTube. If your kid says something off the wall like a Skittles party, you should go to YouTube and type in Skittle party. If you look at your kids' text messages, if you look at your kids' notebooks and what they're doodling, if they doodle a term, which I mean they jot a term down on their papers, go to YouTube, type it in, and see what comes up. A Skittle party is basically when they just get an assortment of drugs, any pills there are, any pill they can get their hands on, cough syrup, dad's medicines, mom medicines, grandparents' medicines, you throw them in the middle of the table, they take one, they consume them, and just to see how it reacts to their body. And then afterwards, like that young man just said, I read it afterwards to see what I actually took. Skittle parties are very dangerous. It's the beginning of the escalation to the next level of the drug. Skittle parties are very common, very easy to do, and very easy to have. Be mindful. If you get a prescription that lasts 3 months, and then you realize after a month, month and a half, you're going back to get more, you might want to say, right? See, I can sit here and tell you about all this heroin. I got this great PowerPoint presentation. But reality is, the PowerPoint presentation is not what you really need to know. You really need to know how it affects you inside your household. And that's what we're going to get to in this presentation. Well, here we go.
In the world of drugs, heroin is the ultimate security blanket, numbing the body's pain centers and wrapping addicts in a warm, relaxing sensation. Each year, Americans alone spend $10 billion on the drug. But heroin's not a new phenomenon. In fact, the drug has been around in some form for thousands of years. As early as 3400 BC, ancient Sumerians in Mesopotamia sliced open the poppy plant and discovered a gooey substance. It was opium, the root of all heroin, and when they ate it, a numbing euphoria swept through their bodies. It was one of the world's first painkillers. Over the centuries, opium was refined, isolating its pain-killing properties. The process gave way to morphine, and eventually its more potent form, heroin. When scientists combined morphine with a chemical called acetic anhydride, the result was a synthesized heroin molecule, significantly more addictive than morphine. But what makes heroin so addictive? While morphine and other drugs break down as they move through the body, heroin is more efficient, shooting straight to the brain, where it is rapidly absorbed. At first, scientists underestimated the power of heroin. In fact, when it was first introduced in the late 19th century, drug companies sold heroin as an over-the-counter cough suppressant and painkiller. What they didn't know is that heroin shuts down the frontal lobe, the part of the brain that evaluates the consequences of actions. That's the part of the brain that tells you not to walk into oncoming traffic, or not to drink a cup of burning hot coffee. Users would do anything to get heroin, and America saw a spike in both addiction and violent crime. In 1924, the U.S. banned heroin throughout the country. But today, Americans can buy an even more potent form of the drug right off the street. From coast to coast, the heroin epidemic is here, and no one is safe.
All right, the question. I know I heard someone say it. How does heroin get all the way up to Alexandria Bay? We're a small community. Heroin is not something that should invade our community. It's very simple. It gets here based on the request, supply, and demand. I see you on the screen. Where?
Click the enable first.
Ding, ding. Okay, help. Here it is.
Yep, he's got to. Got to click on enable content from this session and then click OK.
It's not showing up on the screen.
Two screens.
Someone has amazing power. They were like, we do not want to be powerful on it right now.
I think it has to do with like Orange County being a nice area and them trying to.
So ultimately, what we'll talk about as we get that straight is, I'm going to go through the names of heroin and other things. But one of the things I was talking about is how it gets to a community like Alexandria Bay. When people come up to visit during the summertime, one of the common things, when you send your child off to college, when you go to college, you always say, I prepared my child, my son, my daughter for everything. I have everything. I have it completely prepared and ready. Man, you're good. You say how it gets to the community, and people say, well, hey, heroin is not here. It's here because what happens is it's transient. You said you get off to college. My son is a senior in college now. When I sent him to college, I said, oh, I'm a police officer, I'm a pretty cool dad, got a lot of things on the brain. I said, I got him prepared for everything. And then he gets to college campus, and within the first week, one of his friends attempts suicide. I'm like, hold it, that wasn't in the playbook. It wasn't in the playbook. And then next thing you know, he's in school and he starts worrying about things that, Dad, some of the people that I hang out with, it's suspect. So he's gotta come up with a whole different form of friends. Well, it's the same thing here. So during the summertime, you get a lot of people that come in the transit. What they do is they bring different things. It's like, just like fashion. You know, like that rap music. Now, I listen to rap music, but this rap music and it is ridiculous. Okay. Y'all can loosen up. It's rap music and it is ridiculous. It is the same thing with fashion. It's fashion and it is ridiculous. But what happens is ridiculous is just like young ladies. I always say to my ladies in the audience, I always like the bad news. Bad boy. So what happens is the guy comes up or the individual comes to a drug dealer, everyone wants to hang out with the coolest person. And the method of getting drugs and getting people hooked is basically you give them a sample. Just like grocery stores do, just like marketing companies do. Someone who's a drug dealer, smart enough, will come to a community and they'll basically get a group of people that wants to be cool and they'll offer them a sample. And with heroin, all it takes is one time and you're hooked. So you give it to them a couple of times for free, and the next thing you know it, they're hooked. And people will travel from Alexandria Bay all the way down to the city of Syracuse to buy a bundle of heroin. Bundle, you know the term. YouTube it. A bundle of heroin is basically 10 packages, individual glassine packages of heroin. Heroin has gotten so inexpensive that you could buy a glassine package, one, for $10. It's only going to be, the going rate right now, it used to be 1/10 of a gram in each package. So when you got 10 bundles, it basically amounted to 1 gram of heroin. But because of the supply, because of the game, because of people manufacturing making money, now it's down to 0.03 grams in the bundle. So it takes, a bundle really only amounts to half a gram of heroin. That will keep people coming back over and over again. So what happens is, how people slide into the drug trade and selling, individuals that come from communities just like this, you say, wow, how did he become a drug dealer? He was a user, but he became a drug dealer. Well, he becomes a drug dealer, great video, oh, I got it. He becomes a drug dealer because what happens is he takes some pills that he sold from you that cost $50 on the street, but it only gets you high for an hour. And he trades it, he sells it, then he trades it for heroin. Because heroin gives you a longer lasting high than
like 6
pills.
to 7 a day. It was getting so expensive, and I said I could sell these for like $50. Go buy a gram. A gram of heroin is the price of 1 pill. A gram of heroin could last you 3 or 4 days. 1 pill could last you a couple hours. So the calculation was simple, you know, just sell the pills that you get, make money, and get free dope. Never do it.
This next video is basically to show you how quick one individual can go from being a user, just of pills, from a Skittles party to a dealer. Now what you gotta understand is this. A lot of people seem to think, well, if he sells cocaine, a whole bunch of cocaine, a bag full, and it's an A1 felony, and you understand, it goes violation, misdemeanor, felony, right? If he goes to a felony weight, everyone seems to think, oh, he had to have a truckload of drugs. Wrong. If someone sells 3 oxycodones from your cabinet to another individual, particularly an undercover police officer, he get anywhere from 10 to 15 years in jail. It's the quickest way for a young adult to become a felon from your community. And you sit there and say, well, how did it happen? And he said, well, Mom, Dad, Grandma, I got the pills from your cabinet. You left it unlocked.
Like 6 to 7 a day. It was getting so expensive, and I said I could sell these for like $50 and go buy a gram. A gram of heroin is the price of 1 pill. A gram of heroin would last you 3 or 4 days. 1 pill would last you a couple hours. So the calculation was simple, you know, just sell the pills that you get, make money, and get free dope. Never do it.
That's the mentality. Sell the pills, get free dope. No, sell the pills, get free handcuffs. You go to jail. Okay? So you go for the user. Now what happens is you get a person who's addicted, they become a seller, they get jail, they get some type of probation. Then the next thing happens is you can't kick the habit of heroin. I'm gonna figure this out. the right. No, wait, right here. I'm somewhere smart. Hey. Cool. Are you gonna leave me? Nice try. I think I'm good. I'm good. Here we go. There we go. That's not important. That's me. Heroin. We'll talk about it. This is the way we fight heroin. We fight heroin with tips. This is a very important thing. Any drugs, in order for us to be successful in combating drugs in your communities, we need your help. Some people say, oh, I don't want to call that little tip in. I don't want to get involved. I'm not going to be anonymous. You are anonymous. They have a hotline. The law enforcement officers up here have a hotline. We work with Jefferson County Task Force all the time. I know the news article just came out the other day said 39% of the crimes or 39% of drugs involved in this area had to do with heroin. We work with them. That's their 39%. I assure you, we probably got another 20%. The DEA or any other agency, Parks, Police, anybody else up in here, in this area, they probably got another 5%. So that number is a lot higher. It came from one agency, one task force. So you got to be mindful of it. Confidential informants is another way that we fight it. We send informants in. Look, a lot of people want to do drugs and do crimes. At the end of the day, they don't want to do the time. So they help us out. You can help us out also. Street level drug buys, we will bring undercovers into most communities. CNET, our primary function with CNET is to ensure that if a small agency does not have police officers that can go undetected in undercover capacity, we provide those agencies with undercovers. For example, like me, I would show up in this community, I would go to a local drug dealer, buy, turn it over to the local police department, and some other time they would do a raid and hopefully rid most of the community of the drugs. Next thing we do is knock and talk operations. You go knock on the door. Somebody says it's a drug operation we can't get into. We go knock on the door so we can develop that information. Based on developing the information, we try to develop a case in order to charge a person. Unrelated incidents. Unrelated incidents would be this. Methamphetamines. We'll slide into that category real quick. If you see a house that just burns down out of the blue, poof. Your fire departments, most of them were trained to understand the manufacture of meth. Meth is very volatile. In some cases, unrelated incidents, child welfare, counselors, going into a house and talk to a kid, they look over and go, that's odd. They get a strange, heavy odor of what is, for meth, urine, not urine, cat urine. You ever smell that odor? That's usually associated with manufacturing of meth. Unrelated incidents, escalates, we get information, or search warrants are obtained. Heroin is readily available, low cost, high purity, and also new users, new abusers. New abusers basically stems from the fact that in order for a drug dealer to maintain his drug trade in this community, he needs new people to come on. How he gets new people to come on, if he's only giving you 0.03 of a gram, he can take 1 gram and pretty much hook 10 people. Easy to do. One try. And I'll show you a video of how a girl basically said one try. South America, 78% of the heroin comes from there. Heroin is not manufactured anywhere. It's not manufactured in New York City, people. It's not manufactured in Brooklyn or Long Island. It is imported from overseas. Number 1 importer of heroin, anyone want to take a guess? Say it again. Afghanistan. I think we just had war there, right? Here they are, it's not New York City, 11.3. Some of these numbers are old. 11.3 metric tons from South America, 78.9 metric tons from Southeast Asia, Mexico. Depending on which area it comes from, depends on the potency. So we'll talk about that real quick. Type, white, brown, black tar, basically just has to do with the manufacturing of it. Certain people or certain places will use different stuff. Predominantly what they'll do is take the purities out, it'll go from white to brown to black. Black tar heroin is usually just it's a gooey substance. I'm speeding through this, so bear with me, because it's more important for me to show you the videos I believe that really hit home. So I got a couple more videos. You want to see some more videos? Good? Okay, cool. This is the common way to see it: black paper bundles, glassine envelopes, Ziploc baggies, balloons. Balloons are commonly used for transport. Balloons are commonly used for transport. Transport them every and anywhere. So imagination starts to wander, you're right. They will insert them in places where things should not go in order to evade the law enforcement. We need a special warrant in order to go into someone's offices or corridors, so people feel they can put them there. What happens is they start worrying about those bundles popping, they may believe they may die, so then usually they're more willing to give them up. Some people don't. Decks, bundles, bags, these are terms that maybe you want to know. If you hear a kid or your young adult say, hey, you know, you get that deck, you might want to be like, Say, I got a bundle. Get a bag. Because if we don't have a bag of potato chips next to it, what other bag will they be getting? Simple things. And they'll tell you because they think you don't know. Watch this one. Let me see. I say 3 people. How many people right now on their phone have Snapchat? Oh, young folks, look at that. They like, dang, I can't believe you're telling this one. A lot of y'all have Facebook though, right? How many of my mature adults got Facebook? We outdated. Step the game up. How many of y'all have Instagram? I know young folks, I'm telling on you. Everybody here get an Instagram account. And if you're monitoring your kids, make sure, I'm sorry. My young adults have. Get Instagram. Snapchat, they're saying there's nothing you can do with Snapchat because Snapchat basically is a program in which they can do something real crazy on the video for a little while. Dance around, smile, joke, hit the pipe, shoot a needle, send it to a friend, and it disappears. Poof, gone. So if you think you're really up to date, make sure, and I shouldn't brag, but I just got my Snapchat 48 hours ago. My son looked me up, so I didn't know. So I'm learning. But everyone should have it. It's a sidebar. Because on those social media events, and you know the thing is, it's not your kids that you have to watch for. Check their friends. Because their friends, there's some friends that have filters, and then, where's my young adult? Then you got some of those friends that have no filters, right? The ones who say, I hope my mom will not look at this person's account. They will tell you about these things. They'll tell you what the Skittle party is going to be. They'll tell you, who's hired to transport what. If you see those terms, look them up. If you're not sure, at the end of this, I'm going to give you an email address. You can email me. Common ways of ingesting heroin, snorting, smoking, needle usage. Snorting is how it starts out. They crush the pills up, snort it. Then after a while, they smoke it. I'll show you a young lady smoking it in a minute. Then after that, it goes to the needle. The needle is the ultimate. What they're looking for with this heroin is this euphoric feeling. It's like never had before. Most people that try heroin for the first time, once they shoot up, especially with a needle, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to throw up unconditionally. It's just going to be like all over the place. Because their body's saying, what the heck did you just put in me? If you have a family member or a friend that constantly, every time you see them, they go to the bathroom and they're curled up in the bathroom in a ball, like the fetal position, that's the person you might want to be concerned with. Now what happened is, and I'll show you a video on this too, they have ways of hiding the needle box. But drug dealers that use heroin are not going to stand up and shoot. Because it hits them. If they stand up and stick it in their arm, they can fall and cause injury. So most of them will be sitting down, usually in a corner, in a fetal position. They'll shoot up, and then they'll just get this high. And their eyes will go back. And if they OD, this is just how you find it. Okay? You get somebody that's going to the bathroom all the time, comment. How many people let get 12, 10, 11, 12-year-olds go to the bathroom by themselves like at rest stops? Nah, I'm not going to let them go to a rest stop because this truck is there. But I'll let them go to the bathroom at the Dunkin' Donut because it's a one stall, and I know no one else is going to be in the stall. Problem with that is, that's where heroin addicts, junkies go. Single stall bathrooms where they can lock the door, no one's going to walk in on them, and they'll shoot up. When they get high, it's not like they can act like cleaning people and say, let me pick this needle up, let me pick up this cotton ball, let me pick up all the paraphernalia that I use to get high. Stop letting your young adults, your 11, 12, 13-year-olds, go in the bathrooms by themselves unless you inspect them. How many people travel the thruway? Everyone travels the thruway. Go to the restaurant in the New York State Thruway, if you notice anything added, there are needle dispensers there. Because we got tired of cleaning up needles along the thruway from people using in the bathrooms, and then basically just leave them there. So they basically do a public service announcement, please throw your needles away when you're finished. Needles will be given out. We can't even arrest a person for possession of a needle anymore in New York State. You can't. It has to have some type of drug substance within the needle in order for us to arrest it. Can't be done. Needles, heroin, H is for heroin. Listen, my ladies and my adults, I don't mean to be offensive in any way, but here's the reality. Heroin is so addictive that people will do anything for it. Young ladies usually, unfortunately, have something they can trade, and that's themselves. It becomes a very dangerous proposition, and in order to get these drugs, unfortunately, it transfers from not only from an addiction, but a need, and in some cases, it becomes very serious when they go into prostitution and selling their bodies. Be very mindful. It is a dangerous transition. A lot of people seem to say it's violent. It's true. People say you can have health issues. It is true. But also you can have physical problems, in which a young lady who normally would not put herself in a situation will find herself in situations in which they cannot get out. Balloons, common ways, and some packaging, pills crushed up, different colors of heroin, white or crystal with it. Black tar heroin is a little gooey. It's usually bundled in that type of packaging, plastic, usually plastic corners. Here's another thing. If you get Ziploc alligator bags at your residence because you like to make sandwiches for your kids every day, you start realizing your sandwich bags are disappearing, or you look in the trash, in the corner of the trash, in the corner of the Ziploc bag is gone, so it'd be the Ziploc bag and the corner is cut. It's usually not cut, it's pulled apart. Chances are someone is making some type of drug or using or transporting or distributing drugs close to you. Because that's one of the common ways it's done. All right, 5.2 to death. One more needle. Here's a couple of things that are used. The needle, the balloon, aluminum foil. It's another one. I'll show you why that's very important in a second. Paraphernalia, things that are used. As you see that aluminum foil up in the corner, aluminum foil heats up, it's just common. Just like when you cook, you can put hot stuff on aluminum foil and you put it in the stove, the same way they cook meth. Not meth, heroin. This right here, I just want to get to this video. Slide. Anyone tell me, if you've been to the class before, don't cheat. Anyone tell me who hasn't been to the class, what that thing is right there? You might be able to read it. Can you read it? Say it again. A battery?
Brillo pad.
Brillo pad? Nope. Anybody else? Steel wool? Nope. Anybody else? That's a cotton ball. That is a reused over and over again cotton ball where heroin is constantly shot through it to the point where it starts to look like this. Because what happens is junkies are not going to use their money to buy additional things to shoot up. They will save it. So when you do inspections and you're getting rooms, because I pay the mortgage, there is no rats in my house. I look through everything. And they get mad at you, and I know it's probably somebody here, but you can't do that. Sorry, I do it. I pay for it, I look at it. If you pay for it, can't want money anyway, I'm looking at it. If you use somebody else's money, you don't have a job, I'm looking at it. Your child starts showing up with $100, $200 Nike Air sneakers, you might start wanting to say, And I know everyone says, that's not me, it can't happen up here. I'll show you how quick it can happen with meth. Just transitioning real quick. Methamphetamine, a box of Sudafed. Anyone ever bought a box of Sudafed before? You buy Sudafed, you basically got ID, you're like, bring it out the house. Sorry. You gotta go get ID to box on Fifth Avenue. A package of Sudafed on the street to a meth dealer is going for, in some places, anywhere from $75 to $100 a box, and they'll give you the cost of Sudafed. So if the box costs $19, they give you $19 plus $100. That's how a young adult can get caught up. He in college, high school, old enough to buy the Sudafed, so I said, hey, you buy me 2 boxes of these, I give you $75. They go, that's not illegal. It's not a big issue. Okay, I'll do it. But after a while, the federal statutes say anything over 3.6 grams in a week, and then it's like 9.2 is a federal violation. That's how a young adult would get caught up. Young adults don't come up with $200 just because they had, a good day at work. Something went wrong. Unless they had a great job. And I don't know how y'all paid up there in A Bay, but 200 is a good day's work. Anyway, be mindful. Okay. Tattoos. I'm not against tattoos. I have none. I keep praying that my son doesn't get it, and there's a friends associated with him who don't have it. It's a personal choice. You do what you want to do. But tattoos are one of the best ways to hide track marks. Okay? So, I would take pictures of my kids' tattoo. That's a great tattoo. Let me take a picture of that. They want to show it to you. Take a picture. Okay, here we go. I got to slide something, right? That's what he said. This one right here. Ash. This is a young lady using.
Heroin is considered the most addictive and dangerous narcotic, named after the word heroic because it gave users the feeling of euphoric power. Today, heroin is worse than ever. Dealers have made it stronger, cheaper, and easier to smoke. A deadly combination.
Put the head on like this. What I do is I take a straw and then just.
With just one hit, you could be hooked. Ashley puts the heroin on tinfoil, burns it, and inhales the fumes. This is not.
That's inhaling. Simple process. You get hooked. So it's snorting, you crush the pills up, snort it. Inhaling the way she just did it. Shooting. Anyone who may have a problem with needles, let's go get a needle with this one. Okay? I know it's a little too late because I think a couple of them had needles already, but just in case.
Candle, dude. Oh, your necklace, man. Wood matches.
This thing is testing.
Start smelling this nice smell. Smells good. Addiction, 100% preventable. Just don't pick up that first drug, that's all you gotta do. I usually don't get high in the house, but I got nowhere else to go. So I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. Whatever. When I put that needle in my arm and pump that heroin into my vein, it's just like pure meditation. I'm just smacked with good feelings. All the worries in the world is just gone for that little bit of time that I'm high.
Nice house, right? See the house at the end. This young man did not come from a poor home, poor environment, well off. Unfortunately, he got hooked. Any questions as I start looking at this next one? Question? No questions? Am I doing that? Huh? All right? Okay. We did the history, we did area part 2. We showed this lady in the beginning.
I went to her apartment. She changed her shirt in front of me, and all I could see were her ribs. And she
she's already a tiny size 0 girl to begin with. It made me sick to my stomach. I had to leave the room. I went to her apartment. She changed her shirt in front of me, and all I could see were her ribs. She's already a tiny size 0 girl to begin with. It made me sick to my stomach. I had to leave the room. When she came out of the room, I'm like, what's wrong? Something's wrong with you. And she's like, why do you say that? I go, because your ribs. You're not that skinny. I go, you're sick and something's wrong, and we need to figure out why you're losing this weight, or there's something else going wrong that you're not telling me about. By then, she had advanced to methamphetamine, and she was smoking meth, and she was dating a guy that introduced her to that. So it was all meth after the oxy. She went to rehab, and then after the rehab, when she relapsed with the heroin. And that's what ultimately killed her.
She died. She lost her life. Some of the terms, again, I could have brought a lot of handouts. I know the school district did a phenomenal job of giving handouts. The trick here is, I really want you, as a community, as a group, to start using the same things that drug dealers, drug users, drug abusers, and more important, the things your kids use, your grandkids use, YouTube. Common terms for heroin is H, smack, junk, horse, China white, black tar, brown. You start hearing those terminologies, you might have an issue. Again, H, smack, junk, horse. And some of these terms, some people here go, ooh, from back in my day. But they just evolve. Just like your fashion evolves. Like, I never thought I'd see straight legs again. Straight legs is back. Same thing with heroin is back. Heroin use has, in the city of Syracuse, again, not to put the city of Syracuse on blast, because Chief Fowler, I know, was a phenomenal job out of the city of Syracuse. They, in 2012, had something like 275 grams of heroin seized. 2013, they had over 1,500 grams of heroin seized. That's like 445% fold increase. That is a lot. And trust me, that increase is coming because now it's applying out of areas such as Alexandria Bay. You'll see individuals that start picking up shop and moving into towns that you say, like, I'm happy to have. And you know, you say to yourself, you don't want to stereotype anyone because you want to welcome everyone to the community. But your kids will tell you. Your kids, if you take the time, make them sit down at the table and have a dinner for a second, and it is hard, especially when they go to college, and just talk to them, they'll tell you anything you need to know. By accident, in most cases, because they'll get tired of talking about what you want to talk about, and they'll start talking about what they want to talk about, and they'll give it up. If you've never done that before. The next phase, this one here, this is the advanced stage of using heroin. So we talked about crushing pills and snorting. We talked about heating up and healing. We talked about shooting and needling. This is when they start speed tripping. This is basically when they add a variety of things, oxycodone, heroin, and other pills to one formula, and then they basically shoot it in their arm, called speedball. Speedball is actually heroin and coke. It gives them another euphoric feeling. I don't know why, but that's what they use. So, another term, speedball. Something that you see that written down on paper, because what happens, you know, if you remember when you were in school, I remember when I was in school, I get bored. The professor was real bad. I started thinking about everything. Like, man, I hope she gives me her phone number. And I start writing phone numbers down. Well, I really don't like this dude. And you write his name down. It hasn't changed. Especially teachers. You know, if someone don't like someone, one of the biggest things we used to do back in the day is you draw a circle with a bullseye around it with the person's name in the middle. It hasn't changed. You know who the person people don't like. You know the person that's using drugs. And I tell you right now, chances are, young adults got it down somewhere. This one is the more powerful one. This young man survived. Unfortunately, he almost died.
I got sent to jail for a hit and run. I actually hit somebody with my car, and I took off because I had drugs on me. So I went to jail for that, and I got put on probation, and I couldn't stay clean. And eventually it's like, dude, you gotta get into a program, or you're going to jail. You need help, you need help. eventually I did, and I woke up 8 days, 8 days later. It was a mix of heroin, Opana, Xanax, and so on. And that was a daily routine for me. My mom found me upside down right there on those stairs with my dog trying to keep me awake. The doctor said if it wasn't for my dog, I'd be dead.
This man's dog saved his life, kept him away. Runny nose, common symptom. Always rubbing their nose, diarrhea, vomiting, high flashes. That's signs of withdrawal. I'll show you this young man, how he tried to hide it. This is my last video.
See all these little marks right here on my hands. I mean, you can't see any veins in my arms or hands. See these marks, all these tears are all old. See all these
Look
little
at the
marks
ways
right
in
here on my
which
hands.
he
I mean,
went
you can't
to
see
great
any
lengths
veins
to
in my
hide it.
arms or hands. See these marks, all these right here. These are all old. All these ones are all new. All the way up here, this leg, down this leg here, all my whole legs, everything. Those are the new ones. It's pretty bad addiction. I don't even get high anymore. I just do it so I can feel normal. I'm starting to get withdrawals and it's starting to take effect now since I haven't used it almost 12 hours. You start getting cold, hot. You start sneezing a lot. Nose starts running, vomiting. You can't get comfortable. Imagine being physically sick with the flu, just where you don't want to move. Your bones ache, your body aches, your stomach hurts. You just feel like throwing up. You just drained of everything physically. And that's what I'm going to start going through. I'm scared, to be honest.
That's it. I'm just going to recap a couple of things real quick. We've been here about 45 minutes. Before I do, any questions? Any questions on any drug? Yes.
When you see someone with big black pimples, you can't see any color, just a big black eye.
Well,
Then you see with a pinpoint, your pupils are just a little dark.
there's a problem. Look, her question basically is when you see dilation in the pupil, in and out, big or small. That definitely has a direct effect to a particular drug. I don't know which one, okay? But there is a problem. We have synthetic bath salts that came out that hit our areas real hard like 2-3 years back. Could be that. Could be cocaine also. Not sure. Ideally is you always have to err on the side of safety. You look at it, your gut tells you. I won't put anyone on the spot, but when something's wrong and it hits you in the gut, you're like, ugh. Usually, that's 100% right. It's just 100%, it's usually 100% right, and that's what you go off. That's what you should expand or be careful. Anything in which a person is acting out of normal, you have up and down mood swings. You have situations where individuals will do things they wouldn't do, like heroin. It basically says it'll have a person think they can jump off a 12-story building, but they're not going to feel it when they hit the ground. Guess what? On heroin or not, you splat the same way when you go down. Okay, but unfortunately, heroin has a person think that they won't feel this association with pain. We are in this area making sure we try to fight heroin problems along with other drugs. I can tell you this, we can't do it without the community. We can't do it without community forums like this. Can't do it without awareness. Can't do it without people that are willing to come in and basically just tell you the truth. The truth of the matter is, heroin is here. Period. It is cheap. Yes, sir.
When someone dies from overdosing on heroin, what is happening in the body? What happens?
The body is shutting down for the most part. They go into a cardiac arrest. Usually most people that die from heroin or overdose, his question is what happens when they have an overdose. It's basically going to a cardiac arrest. The body is just shut down. Okay, then it shuts down to the point where you go into cardiac arrest, you go to defibrillation. And I just want to say, one of the counselors just got trained in Narcan this week. Narcan is a great question. Narcan is out of business. Narcan is basically the antidote that they give to counteract a heroin overdose. Now, what happens with a heroin overdose is basically it goes to your brain cells, it goes onto your cells, and basically blocks your cells. You know, as far as the common sense cells, what I would say. Then after that, when you shoot with the Narcan, it just brings them back. The sad thing about it is most heroin users, some of them will walk around with a band saying, do not resuscitate. Because they don't want you to bring them back from that neurotic high. It's basically, the way they explain it is like we're just fading into space. It's just going away. And then when you hit them with the Narcan, it's like, oof, brings them back. And it's violent. It's like going from darn near dead to like in a wake. And then when they're awake, usually what happens is they vomit all over the place. And then they get mad at you. Like, you saved your life. I didn't want you to save my life. I was in my greatest state of high. This is your euphoric feeling. I don't know. I don't want to be close to death at any time. Period. But that's what they want. Any other questions? Yes?
What do you see with use of drugs around little kids with candies and gums, and is that a big problem?
The use of heroin is, in some areas, gotten down to young adults as young as 13 to 14. It's scary. So, for as candy, let me, one of the guys showed me this, and it's going to take too long for me to find it. But one of the things they had, you got Suboxone and methadone. Suboxone has a form of Suboxone. Remember how you had those, not now, like lifesaver strips? You pull it out, you put it on your tongue, you suck it in, you have it. They made a Suboxone that looks like that. So to a kid who's watching his parent do things, you take out a Suboxone, put it on your tongue, they think that's cool. Unfortunately, it's a drug. Fentanyl patches. Big. People are chewing on fentanyl patches. So what I'm saying as far as manufacturers design and advertise things for young adults to get hooked on it as they go forward. The Michael Jordan brand of sneaker, hooked on it from when I was 18, still going strong. It's the same thing with drugs. Drug dealers use the same philosophy. People go, oh, they're not that sophisticated. Yes, they are. They created a movie, New Jack City. It's got to be like 30 years old. And New Jack City was a movie basically on hooking people on crack cocaine. And they still use the same term. They'll come to this area, it only costs them $150, and give it to 10 people, they're hooked. That becomes $10 a day, $20, $30, $40, and goes on. It never stops. So Suboxone, Narcan, most law enforcement agencies, depending on funding, will be giving Narcan in order to save lives, to bring people back from it. I hope I never have to have that experience, but I have been trained in it. I don't want to see anyone passing away at any time in my life. I definitely want to be the person that has to bring them back. Will I do it? Yes. But unfortunately, most law enforcement officers are being trained in it. It is not a needle. It is basically a nasal ingestion. We'll basically stick it in the person's nose, you squirt it in both nasals, and that should bring them back. Any other questions? Yes.
On the other side is knocking. You can say to people, well, some of them, they want to die, okay?
Yes.
So what about, it can't be them all, but, so what about the kids and the people, not the kids, the people that think, well, ooh, I won't die from this because they got this thing that can bring me back. So
Great.
how is that feeding?
Great question. What happened is this article was in one of the papers I was reading, and it was talking about heroin. And basically, they're giving it to users, basically for them to use or for them to use with their friends about to die. This is a new thing, and for the longest time, it's not new, it's been around for a while. It's called the Good Samaritan. And luckily on college campuses, it's really paid off. Was it Bon Jovi's daughter that was down in Hamilton College? She overdosed on drugs. They arrested her and her boyfriend. But because of Good Samaritan, she was overdosing. And they called it in. All charges got dropped. And basically what it is it's an avenue so people just don't let young adults die. Because what happens, they go, oh, we got drugs in this house. What are we going to do? What do you do? So the Good Samaritan rule basically says, if you call it in, and you're basically in good faith calling it in, that you're not going to be charged. You know, basically a life is more important than the rest. Now, Narcan, you're right. They're giving it to users to save their lives. And that's how it's being administered in some cases. Probably more than law enforcement officers. Because we'll never know about it. Yes?
How bad is the problem in this area?
If the increase, I can't give you an exact number, but I'll just make it alarming. 39% is what Jefferson County reported. Jefferson County Task Force reported 39% of their drug cases involve some type of connection to heroin. Where it went from 2 years ago to like 3 or 4 cases. So if we're at 39% in 2013, 2014, and it's ever increasing, it's going to, if it's not really bad, it's going to be really bad if we don't get a handle on it quick. As I said earlier, Syracuse police, in the city of Syracuse, they had a 445% increase. So if it happens in the big city, guess what? It usually spreads out to the rural areas shortly after. We're not too far away from Syracuse. Question? Yes.
Does all EMS and police officers carry the Narcan?
I don't know about all, depending on funding. I'm sure with the increase of the problem in the area, most of them would. Do I know exactly? I can tell you this is a great job that the counselor from school now has it, or a variety of counselors. So I'm sure if they have it, I'm sure EMS, I'm sure I know the state police members in this area do have it, or a large majority. Yes.
Yeah, I just recently read that New York State funded $2.5 million to address the heroin and opioid problem, not just here, but in New York State. Where is that money going to? What is it?
I don't know how it's all allocated, but for the most part, increasing the task force, increasing the revenue, resources like training law enforcement officers in Narcan. I think one of the biggest things now is it's kind of like how you save a life. And how you save a life, one of the biggest ways of doing it is the Narcan. And Narcan is expensive, especially talking about giving it to thousands of police officers across the state. And then every time something happens, you have to use it. Then that's one fault. Then the next fault was the enforcement. Now, when you talk about putting more police officers out in the street, that needs a budget up real quick also. But I can tell you, it's hitting us so hard in all areas, that it's, 2.5 million is never going to be enough, But again, it's a start. It's better than what we had yesterday. Yes. Ma'am, right here.
I had never heard of that Good Samaritan thing.
Okay.
Why isn't that more publicized? I mean, every application and thing you make out, there's a thing to register to vote.
Right.
It's been in effect since 2011. I've never heard of it.
It's a phenomenal idea, ma'am. I don't know, but I tell you what, now everyone in here knows. Now what we can do is expand upon it. You can tell other people that it's
saved your life just a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, very important. I think this gentleman over here, somebody had a question at the end. Yeah.
I was going to ask, how does the increase in heroin, how does it correlate to crime and violent crime? Is it almost equally, or because it obviously has to affect those rates too?
It affects the crime rate because what you have to understand with heroin, someone can use crack and then maybe 2 days later be off. Someone can use meth because you manufacture it in your house for the most part, and they'll stay awake for 10 days and then they'll be off. Problem with heroin is if you use it on Monday, you have to use it on Tuesday or you're going into withdrawal. That's the addiction. That's why it's so addictive. Then you go to the next level. So if you have a young adult, say he's 14, 15 years old, who started with a $10 bag, now he's up to a $20 bag. Now he can get $30 maybe past his parents every now and then, but after a while, he can't. She can't. And it's not isolated to just men, so I gotta say he, she, okay? So reality is, yes, you will start stealing, and usually who you steal from first, unfortunately, you steal from your family. The people that you can get stuff from. Easy access. Then you go to the next level, okay? And that might be breaking into houses. And breaking into a house, if you enter into a dwelling and you commit a crime within, that's a felony. That's a big felony. That puts you in jail for 10 years. Depending where you're at, depending on the circumstances. So yes, escalation of crime has a direct correlation to the use of heroin and many illegal drugs. Yes, ma'am.
Basically, you're here to help give us tips like what we can do as communities, reports to the community. What we can do to ensure that we can either stop it, negate it, or reduce it. And do neighborhood watch programs work?
Neighborhood watch programs, I have no expertise on it, but I will say this. If everybody in the neighborhood is aware of things that are going on in the neighborhood, you can't do anything but help. Car parks on the corner of your street and sits there for 2 or 3 days, some point you're gonna say, and you know, I'll take that back. Neighborhood watches do work, because we'll be on details, and what details for us is an investigation. And I might go down the street and park on James, because I'm trying to watch a house, a car 2 doors up, or 2 blocks up, and I'm sitting there watching, and all of a sudden I'll get a lady to come up to the door and go, "Can I help you?" And I can't say, "Well, I'm the police," because most people don't believe me. So that don't work. They don't believe me. So I go, "Oh no, I'm just making a phone call," and I just move on. So neighborhood watches on that aspect, they really do work, because it's mindful of what's going on. If everyone walked around oblivious to what was going on in their neighborhood, people would do anything in their neighborhood. As far as techniques, basically what I'll tell you, if you see something, call in a tip. If you're aware of something, call in a tip. If no one calls a tip, if no one reports it, if you have a family member, some people say, look, the hardest thing to do is to have a family member or a child arrested. It's the hardest thing to do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you keep protecting them from the system, they always figure that there's a way out. I'll give you an example. The only reason I'll give you this example is because it keeps happening to me. I got up this morning, I work at the airport part-time for Delta. I got up this morning, it's 10 below zero in Syracuse. I go out to my car that my son had. What's the end of it? No gas. I'm not talking about no gas. I'm talking about the deal was like, we had 0. And we've had this conversation over and over again, and it keeps happening. But eventually, if I take his car away, guess what? His car from his way, it can't happen again. At some point, you have to cut them off. It just really comes down to basic sense, common sense techniques. Things that have worked in the past will work now. Cut them off from the money. Yes?
A couple years ago, I did try to call the police a couple different times, and being in a tourist area, a lot of the cops are busy, especially in the summertime. So if I'm not getting the results or follow-up, to try to get police to a certain area to check on. I mean, I don't have facts, I just am suspicious of an area where kids are hanging out and things are happening, and then don't get the results from the station. And what's my next step?
Well, I can tell you this. I don't know what happened in that particular circumstance or situation, but I do know a lot of the times, a lot of people call things in and you think that nothing happened, but patrols will go down and it didn't happen that day, and they will periodically check over and over again. And what happens is, when you sometimes catch someone, because people go, well, that person got arrested, but it wasn't in the newspaper. Well, they got arrested, or I know they went down to the station, maybe in the greater good of another investigation that didn't hit the newspaper. That makes sense? So basically, in the further investigation, chances are maybe that name didn't go in the newspaper. But to answer your question, if you call in a complaint, the police department can't survive if they do not follow up on it. This is basic. You call in over and over again, and they don't go, at some point, the community is not going to stand for that. So I'll go at 100% that they went. Unfortunately, you didn't get a follow-up. Ask for an interview. That's one way to do it. Hey, I called 911. Listen, my name is, whatever your name is, I would like to be interviewed about my complaint.
So I would call 911 in the local station. Like if I'm suspecting there's kids hanging out and they've been hanging out there, and there's word that there's drug use and that's where they're selling drugs, I would call 911.
Call it over and over and over and over again. You can tell them Investigator Boyce said. Boyce, B-O-I-C. I'm joking about it. Tell them I said it. But reality is, call them over and over again. Reality is, if you have a problem, it's our responsibility to try to help you out. And if we don't come, then we're failing in our duties. And that's not what we're supposed to do. But in most cases, we will go and deal with the situation, and the follow-up should be to call you, like, this is handled or dealt with. But if you have an area in which the kids go all the time, okay, when I was in the 9th grade, I went there. And Mom told me not to go. When I got to the 10th grade, I went there. Mom told me not to go. 11th grade, I went. And guess what? My younger cousin, who was in 8th grade, his mom told him not to go. When he's in 8th, 9th, go. So some places are just kids are going to go. But if it's a place where it's drug infested, ideally, I would keep calling in and requesting it. Questions? Anyone? Sir?
So marijuana is the entry level for drugs to get people started.
Mm-hmm.
And I see New York State considering legalizing marijuana, 2 states already have. Does that kind of defeat the purpose?
You know what?
Also, the other thing the student administration is saying also that they don't consider drugging to be a violent crime, therefore they're trying to lessen the prison sentences for drug sellers, pushers.
Well, you know, I know for the longest time, RICO was one of the big ones, and it's the mandatory sentencing, especially for crack cocaine was a big issue. But when we talk about marijuana, legalizing marijuana is not here yet. The bottom line is illegal, and we should not be encouraging kids to use marijuana. I tell you this, unfortunately, and it's sad to say, you know, a kid came home and said, you know, I tried marijuana, you know, you want to start educating them. Because the last thing you want them to hear say is, I tried heroin, or crack, LSD. So ideally, it's still illegal in the state of New York. I really don't touch on legalization. That's for the politicians and people in government. It will put an interesting curve on how we do our jobs in the future, but we're not there yet. So what we'll do is we'll enforce it. But the thing you have to be mindful, and I'll say this, I'll get you next. In New York State, this is very important too, especially for my young adults here. Let me say this first, don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't do marijuana, don't do any drugs. Well, less than 26 grams of marijuana in the state of New York is a violation, it's the equivalent of a traffic ticket. You will pay more for a speeding ticket than what you will pay for possession of 26 grams of marijuana. It's written in the penal law. Penal law is where all the charges in the state of New York are. So it says the fine can be no more than, I think, $100. You cannot have a custodial arrest. So we'll take you into custody in order for us to get all your information, but you're not going to jail unless you have something else. The reason why I talk about that one being a violation is I see too many young adults thinking that they got a little bit of marijuana and they take the police on a high-speed chase, and either they die or usually a young girl in the passenger seat. I always say girl because it's the nice girl with the bad guy driving in this accident, or they run through stop signs, they run through lights, they get like $1,000 worth of tickets, and they was only going to get a violation. So it's, unfortunately, I always say don't do drugs, I don't do drugs, but you have to also be mindful of what you're dealing with. And you never want to escalate from a violation to a printable offense. A printable offense is basically when we take you down to the station and we start rolling your fingerprints. Questions?
I just have something to say.
Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Boyce, you talked about the trigger, the keywords and stuff.
Yes.
Don't ever think if your child is silent, they might not be saying any of that. You might not ever pick up, they might not say nothing. So just be aware if your kid's in like seclusion, if he's always in his room, curtains closed, you know, sleeping all the time. You know, just watch out for those things too. You know, cars driving by, you got cars driving by, same car all the time, someone stops and says, well, I was wondering where this place is. You know, and they go down the road, they're only there for a couple seconds and come back, they weren't looking for that place. They had a means to be there, so.
What she's describing is basically the second part of our statement. Before she's very right. Everyone should know their child. You know what's right, what's off, what's not right. If you spend time with them, if you have to sit there with them and say nothing, do it. Monitor what's going on in the computer. You know, the computer world right now is taking our children over. Period. That's why you have to be up to speed on it. What she's describing when she says that if a car drives down the block, and everyone knows that house. If you don't know the house, you suspect the house. And you see this all the time. Drive off, then you see another car pull in. And they drive off. If you see that on a regular basis, either that's a very popular person, or you can have something else going on. And how we develop investigations is simple. You give us tips, we follow up on a tip. Usually the person in his house or that house may have a history of some type of drug use or drug activity. They might be, plates from somewhere else, you know. But again, you know. If you don't know, your kid knows. Your teenager knows. Hey, what's going on at Mike's house on James? You know, the one that Michelle and Mary just moved out of. Whew. We got to move in there. They know. Call it in. But don't get mad when you call it in. You're like, well, nothing happened, because we will be doing an investigation on it. God, when you call it, I can tell you this right now. The state police, I know the Jefferson County Task Force, I'll give them a shout out. We follow up on those tips. And they do too. And I'm sure any other police agencies out there. Parks Police, I saw them here. I can tell you this, Parks Police, they have a difficult job. Because in the summertime, what's going to happen is all the meth manufacturers will go out into the woods and manufacture meth. They'll go to public parks and make it, and then dump their ingredients. If you see a 2-liter bottle that has discolorations with multiple layers, please do not touch it. It is a bomb. That manufacturer of meth, what they do is they take Coleman fuel, they take lithium-ion batteries, coal packs, Sudafed, a couple of other items. They put it in the bottle. They cut the other things, the ingredient inside of the coal packs, the little beads. They put them inside the tube. There's other things, I'm not going to tell you that, I'm not going to teach you how to make meth, but basically those are some of the ingredients. They shake it up, it causes a chemical reaction. The bottle starts to expand, especially if they're using a 2-liter plastic bottle, expand. They have to burp it, which is basically open it up a little bit, let air in, and then they start again. If the police come, or somebody comes and startles them, and they close that cap and they leave it there, that thing's going to keep expanding. And eventually, at some point, it's going to go boom. Or it may not go boom, if we're lucky. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to walk up to it and go, because what you just did is reactivate it. And if you reactivate it, then it starts going again. That is a meth lab. If you came in late, a meth lab is not a big building in a chemistry lab. It is down to a 2-liter bottle, and in some cases, a 20-ounce bottle. Questions?
And then one more thing I'll say.
Yes, ma'am.
If you have kids and they come, they can be point investigator, okay? It's stress to your kids, they come to you and they say something, they're gonna know something's up with their siblings. So
Good point.
listen to them.
If you have a 17-year-old, then you have an 11 to 12-year-old, that 11 to 12-year-old knows. They know. And when they tell you, don't ignore it. Now, you don't have to get into them, but take a note. Oh, okay, cool. Because you don't want them to also key in that you know. But you always get educated. So, I'm going to end and basically say this.
Can I make my comment?
You can, I'm sorry, ma'am, yes.
Okay. Medical marijuana was signed July of last year. I don't know what they have identified for suppliers, but the fact that it is signed and legal means that marijuana in the home is much more likely to be available. And so you're not having to go elsewhere necessarily. It's who's in pain in your house, who's going to be smoking, who's in pain, who is your neighbor, who is going to be smoking pot in order for pain management. This is going to be an available thing.
So the reality is, yes, if it's been signed, the marijuana is going to be legal. Again, like I said, it's really difficult to touch on things that I'm not 100% aware of. I know, like she said, medical marijuana has been signed, but at this point, we're not dealing with it yet. It hasn't hit us. And until it hit us, as far as in the law enforcement aspect, we treat marijuana as marijuana and get arrested for it. Now, yes, 1 second before I forget this thought. How many people have students that are in college, juniors, seniors in high school? Anybody? Okay, let me tell you this one. If your child does get caught up with some type of drug offense, it's unfortunate. I do hear everybody in Alexandria bad millionaires. Every last one of you. It's not true, right? If they get convicted of some type of drug offense, they lose all federal funding for college. So you might want to tell them that. It gets expensive. My son's at RIT, it's like $44,000 a year. Sally Mae will come get her money. You know, Sally Mae, that is the largest loaner of money to college students. She gets her money. And when I mean she gets her money, you know, you default on a Sally Mae loan, that's the equivalent of going AWOL for the military. You will get nothing, no jobs, nothing. So the key point there is what I want to say is, if you got to go to court, try to fight and make sure that they don't get convicted. You know, make sure it's a learning process. But in the back of your mind, they can basically lose all their federal funding, even if they get convicted of a UTM. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, earlier you had said that being active and just monitoring cell phones and stuff like that. And this is something that my child started 2 years ago. And as a new parent with a child with a cell phone, I was spending hours going through texts. And then when I saw a new app, I'd have to research the app to understand the app. Going on and on and on. I actually found a website that was created from a parent called BeWeb Smart. And on this website, she does all the work for you. So now I just go to one site. If my son had kicks, K-I-K on his phone, I was like, what is that?
That's a new one.
So I went on BeWeb Smart, and on there it gives you the rundown of what the app is, the pros of it, the cons of it, and then lets you decide whether or not you want your child to have that app. It's actually a very, very thorough website, and I'm constantly on it.
What's the name of it again?
It's called BeWebSmart.com.
BeWebSmart.com. BeWebSmart.com for those who are taking notes.
It's a parental resource and guidance website for apps.
Very good. But look, there's a lot of ways. You can either spend your time going to that website, or you can really narrow it down. You can't have that before I figure out what it is. And I know some people are saying, hey, that's easier said than done. I'm 6'3". I was 263 last about 2 months ago. I'm down 16 pounds. I'm about 240. But I'm still bigger than my son and all his friends. And I know he's 21 now, and his friends are probably stronger than me, but I have them convinced I can win. If not, I have friends bigger than them. And you might want to add that philosophy into the way you do things. But reality is, it is serious business. You will be coaching your child. You think you make them get them through high school and it's done it over with. It's not. It don't stop. And this heroin will sneak up on them. Meth will sneak up on them. Prescription pills will sneak up on them. It is a progression. A kid breaks his leg playing sports, they're going to give him some type of oxycodone. It's going to be some type of oxycodone, or it's going to be some type of, generic. From there, if you do not monitor, you give that kid that pill bottle, they take it to school, they start selling it, and you can run into a problem, they get arrested. Right? And understand this too. Oof. And I know we run out of time, it's late. Sell doesn't mean exchange of money. Let me say that again. Sell is not an exchange of money. A sale is as simple as a kid taking an oxycodone and going, here you go. Man, look at that. In the state law, that is a sale. He doesn't have to give me anything in exchange for it. So he thinks he's cute, and he goes to school like, oh, you got a toothache? Oh, man, I got some stuff for you. And he gives one over. That is a sale in the state of New York. That's a bad day. Okay? Be mindful. How it starts is painkiller, he gets hurt, he gets his pills, he starts using them, they're not working, they get some type of euphoric feeling of it, then he goes to the next level is using more and more pills, the next level goes to using heroin, and the next level is addiction. And addiction basically causes problems in the community. I tell you what, you guys have been a great audience. I thank you for having me. Please be mindful. Oh, I got a lady back there. Yes, ma'am. I'm actually at the school. Yeah, but you make it look good. Yes, ma'am. What to do with them? I believe they have, and I want to steer you wrong, but I think most pharmacies, somebody can help me, most pharmacies have disposal. She's going to give us a wrap up. 1 second, ma'am. She'll have an answer for you. As soon as she kicks me off the stage. Great segue. Thanks again, everyone. You've been a great audience.
What I didn't say to tell you all is
really excites me, because we can't do this in the school. We're the educators, this part, but we can't do this. This is a whole lot bigger than we are. So you're gonna tell us what step 2 is, okay? You have your, whoever you connect with, those organizations I just talked to, please communicate with them. Tell your pastors, tell your board members, tell your village people, tell your school, what do you want, okay? What do you want next? We'll work with them on getting it here. We just need to know what people want. But to close up, they're going to offer some information that you saw on the tables out front.
Another important thing to add is Kevin Durr is recording this, and he will be recording the student presentations on Friday. They will be available on our website. So if you want to hear what your kids hear Friday, go on and watch it. If you know parents that couldn't be here tonight because they had to work or they just couldn't make it, go onto the website and view it again. Before you guys leave, make sure you signed in, left a phone number, and picked up some handouts. We have one student's facts the students should know. We also have one about the Good Samaritan law, which was something we didn't know either, but here's a handout about that fact. Also had some self-help support groups. And I also had a pamphlet for the AA meeting list for Jefferson County. If some of these aren't available and you want them, just contact one of us at the school.
In answer to the question earlier about safe disposal of medications, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in Watertown has a safe medicine disposal site. I also contacted Kitty Drugs right here in Alexandria Bay today to ask them. And the last Saturday of every month, they will collect medication. So if you have old prescription drugs sitting around your home, and even over-the-counter medicines that you want to get rid of, you can take them into Kitty Drugs. They ask that you, if you can, send them in the original bottles, because they do have to sort through all of those before they can dispose of them too. So that just helps make the process go much easier. They can't handle syringes, so if you're someone that has to use syringes for a medical condition, they do have the disposable containers that you can buy at our Kitty Drugs here, but they can't accept them, but our local hospitals will. You can also use things like laundry detergent bottles, something that's not puncture proof, to put them in, to transport them to a disposal site. Okay. So in case you can't get to Watertown, which is in the one handout, you can go right to our local Kitty. So that's really good information to know. Okay. The other thing is we have out there's another forum that's going to be at JCC. That's going to be on Thursday, January 29th. And the presenter there will be Mr. Lee Livermore. That's something that Pivot, which is formerly known as ASAC, is helping to organize. And they have a lot of other information available too, and website. I think it'll actually kick you back over to the ASAC, the Alcohol and Substance Abuse Council website still. But they have a lot of other information on prevention, intervention, and other resources.
Okay, so again, we thank you very much. Oh, yes, ma'am.
This is basically phase 1, so I'm assuming it's informative. It's informing us what's out there, what it is to date. So you've got the videos out there. I'm going to, at our community events in Redwood, make those videos available for us as a group to see.
Great.
Our neighborhood association, so I'm just putting that out there. Might be something.
That's a great idea. If you can't hear, she's saying in her community in Redwood, she's going to show these videos and put them out there. So that's a great idea for